We're live. Hi. Hello, everybody. And welcome back to another episode of Today's Weather Tonight. Here, as always, I am your comedian / meteorologist. That's what I call a comediologist. I made it up. It's my profession. I'm calling it that. Comediologist, Cloud Hudson, signing in for duty, locking in. I'm locked in. I'm locking into the broadcast. Hi, good evening. It's been an exciting day here in Western North Carolina. I don't know why this is buffering so badly. I hope it can be happier. Maybe computer, you can just be a little bit happier. You won't buffer so bad. Maybe it's because I put up a new backdrop. I am working on getting a new backdrop going. I hope it doesn't cause things to buffer too badly. I feel heat coming from the computer, and I don't know why. It is cold in here, so the computer should not be very hot. I'm going to take this extension out, see if that helps it think better. Hello, welcome back to Today's Weather Tonight. I'm going to start sharing my screen as soon as I feel like the computer likes me again. I feel like it's buffering so badly right now, and I don't know why. Yeah, actually, I think it was that I had my external drive plugged in because I want to. I did a comedy set tonight, and I'm going to actually upload it to YouTube. So you guys will actually get to see my stand-up comedy, which is exciting for those of you who have wanted to see me do just stand-up instead of talking about the weather. Hi. Brandy Bradford, welcome to Today's Weather Tonight. It is I, Cloud Hudson. Let's go ahead and start talking about the weather. If y'all are new here, I talk about the weather by talking about all aspects of the weather, including volcanoes, tornadoes, and I start with the top headlines. So let's go ahead and get into, God, I don't know why this computer is just, I have such a fast computer, like stupid fast. Why is it being so slow right now? Okay, I talk about the weather headlines. Here's one. Antarctica's hidden volcanoes. Climate change awakens giants. I like that. Melting ice sheets are more than just a threat to the sea levels. There are possibly over 100 volcanoes in Antarctica. Ooh, look at that hexagonal formation under the icy surface. And as the ice over Antarctica thins, melts due to climate change, the pressure the ice exerts is going to decrease because it weighs less. The smaller and smaller the cap on top of the volcanoes gets, the less pressure it has to overcome to erupt, and that could mean that many volcanoes will awaken throughout the process of climate change. So not only will Antarctica become a real continent again, it will awake from its slumber. I think it's been slumbering since Gondwana land. It's been slumbering for a sleeping. This has been a sleeping, inactive continent for thousands of years. It's going to come back as climate change melts the ice. This will be like a viable piece of land again. And that includes volcanoes. Very fun. Let's see. Speaking of volcanoes, related to volcanoes is earthquakes. Here's some fun footage of the 4.8 magnitude. I read it was a 4.9 earthquake that struck in Ningxia Autonomous Region in northwest China on Thursday. I don't know if it's actually autonomous. But maybe it is. Who knows? Maybe that's CIA propaganda. I'm not one to say. I'm not very well versed in the local politics. Numerous surveillance cameras captured panicked people fleeing from buildings. No casualties have been reported, but damn, that looks scary. You see that? Little baby was just sitting up there, just chilling. Oh man, this is going to be great to see. People, duck and cover. That's what you're supposed to do. Got under the desk. That's smart. Smart people. This person went out of a building. That's a fun fact. You get different advice on how to survive earthquakes depending on what country you're in and what type of town you're in. So like you see this guy runs out the door. A lot of stone stack structured locations are advised to run outside when there's an earthquake in case the building collapses. But in places where the building codes are designed to withstand earthquakes, people are told to hide under furniture so that falling objects don't fall onto them because there's less risk of the building collapsing. But many people outside of the United States will run outside because that's the common advice for how to survive an earthquake. Hello. What land? I don't know. There's going to be Antarctica is going to eventually be a continent again instead of just a frozen giant. That's what we were talking about, Antarctica waking up after it melts due to climate change. There's possibly over 100 volcanoes that could be ready to come out of dormancy. Not really sure if seismically they're ready to come out of dormancy, but once the ice cap is removed, there will be at least that one layer gone. Locally in my area, in like the Western North Carolina area, we've seen part of this big snowstorm that is sweeping through the Midwest and the East Coast right now. We're in a code purple right now. It's super, super fucking cold. I saw the first black ice that I've ever seen today. Oh, and I got video of snow. Maybe I'll be able to show that later if my computer behaves. I don't know if it, I didn't upload it in time, but I did take video of it snowing today. I'll probably put that on YouTube as well after the broadcast. It didn't really accumulate much, but there was black ice, lots of sticky situations. This is also going on in the Central Plains and East Coast, kind of sweeping through it. When we get to the atmospheric weather update, we will talk more about this, but this is the current storm seen from Oberlin, Ohio. And then that's just me stealing CBS News clips. So I'm going to do my own analysis of it in a minute. After I get through these wave headlines. Weather is just waves stacked on top of each other, many different mediums of waves, many different media that waves propagate through, stacked on top of each other. That's what the weather is. So I think it is perfectly logical to put a story about possibly the biggest wave somebody has ever surfed in this broadcast. Watch, California surfer catches possible world record wave. I can have a scary, commercial voice. California surfer may have broken a world record when he shredded a wave estimated to be 108 feet tall. 108, great number, Buddhist number, very enlightened number. Look it up. Do some meditating on the number 108. It's a great number. It's 1, the whole, and 0, the nothing, and 8, the infinity. Okay, I can't tell you more than that. So Alo Slabir 23 was surfing with friends. This was back on December 23rd, 3rd. So in Half Moon Bay, and he might have caught a world record wave. We are waiting on officials to confirm the height, but this would be breaking the current world record, which is an 86-foot wave off the coast of Portugal. So that's a huge increase. And I think with crazier weather and crazier ocean weather, we're going to see bigger and bigger waves. Will people be able to shred the gnar? I don't know, but they're going to try. The waves get gnarlier, the crazier the weather gets. And, I mean, maybe there are surfers out there brave enough to try. I know they'll try. Godspeed, surfers. Do your best. Wave riders. 22 degrees in southern Vermont. It is gonna get colder than that. I can tell you that. Pink Floyd balanced on the highest wave. I don't know if that's I've never heard that. I don't know if that's right. I hope I can behave. I hope you can behave too. Oh, don't make waves. Get it? Don't make waves. I hope I can behave. That's funny. Good morning. First class seats, free coffee. I love you. I'm so great that you guys, I'm so grateful that you guys are here. You are just lovely people in the chat, and I'm so happy you're here. Let's check in on our volcanoes. We've got Santiaguito popping up as, what is this? The young Shivalik lava dome covered with a fresh new snow. Oh, that's not even an eruption. That's just clouds of snow. Okay. So it snowed on a mountain in Russia. Oh my God. What a shocker. But this is Suwanosejima, actually not that far from Shivalik. Kenlon volcano down in Philippines. Reventador covered in clouds. Kalaki volcano being shown there, maybe some puffs of smoke coming off of it. And here's some earthquakes in the Afar region on January 3rd, 2025. So far, recorded by the Fury seismic station 200 kilometers to the west of the Awash. That's the place in Ethiopia where the East African Rift, the Great Rift Valley, is located. That's the part of Ethiopia it's located in, is the Afar region. Awash is the biggest town near there, I think. And the larger signals correspond to 4 to 5 magnitude quakes, plus many smaller ones. So we haven't been getting very good recordings through Earthquake 3D of the smaller quakes, but once a quake is at like the 4 to 5 range, other global sensors in the seismic network will be able to pick up on it and have triangulated the location to this place in the Great Rift Valley. So that area is moving and a jumping and becoming a big new hotspot. And I'm very excited to see what happens in 2025 with the Afar region. New vent at Dauphin Mountain erupting a strong jet of steam and mud. That is where? Dauphin Mountain. I think they'll show it. Oh, here's more of that. Oh, really big ones. Shivalik. They had a new expedition to young Shivalik. Okay, that's what that was. Sakurajima and Suwanosejima exploded. We had continuing eruption at Canlon in central Philippines. Mount Ibu explosive activity continues. Lewitobi explosive activity continues. Samiru, same. Popo, also ongoing volcanic activity. I'm not going to read the flight levels that they're going to. Santiaguito keeps going. Fuego, ongoing. Nevado del Ruiz, also getting a ash plume up there. New volcanic ash emission was reported from that one in Colombia. Sangay in Ecuador continues continuous volcanic ash emissions. Reventador too. Okay, Calaqui in central Chile and Argentina says unable to detect, but we saw a satellite image of it up there. So maybe, Dauphin is in Ethiopia. Okay. So that is probably so new vent at Dauphin Mountain erupting strong jet of steam and mud. That indicates that we are having some volcanic activity associated with the quakes over there. Strong earthquake continues to hit the area. Another quake around a 5 was reported minutes ago, visible on seismic recordings. A new vent producing a powerful jet of gas, rocks, and mud has been observed at Dauphin Volcano in Delucha district a short time ago. This is the area closest to the ongoing seismic swarm in Ethiopia's Afar region, which we suspect to be caused by the intrusion of magma. Just like in Iceland, the seismic and volcanic activity is caused by an intrusion of magma to the crust. The embedded video, although not clear, shows what may be a phreatic or hydrothermal explosive activity, where the groundwater is heated by fluids from the magma underneath and flashes to steam, escaping in this case from an open ground crack. It is not entirely clear if a vent has existed at the site before, or if it recently reopened, or if it opened recently. That means that we're not at the point where magma is coming to the surface and becoming lava yet, but it is close enough to the surface that it is boiling the groundwater inside the ground, and that is exploding out. So that's super exciting. No signs of activity slowing down in Fantail, Ethiopia. The local newspaper reported that over 30 houses have been destroyed by the recent quakes. Oh, that is really unfortunate. And hundreds of people have left their homes as precaution and are either camping outside or fleeing to other areas. The most affected areas include Awash, Fantal, and Delucha districts, especially the village of Sajinto Kebele, which the Kesem Sugar Factory and the Kesem Dam are located. The latter, with a capacity of holding 500 million cubic liters of fresh water, is giving worries to whether it will withstand the seismic activity, as a structural failure could trigger catastrophic flooding. That is a scary thought. You do not want an earthquake to bring down a dam with a flood on your hands and volcanoes and earthquakes. That's just all of it at once. Houses are collapsing day by day. Several schools have sustained too much damage to continue. The whole community around the sugar factory has abandoned their homes. People are fleeing with whatever belongings they can carry, headed towards Awash Seba town. Those who can afford it are using vehicles, while others are escaping on foot through the wilderness. Rural communities are loading their belongings onto camels and leaving with their livestock. So, even though I do get excited by seeing new areas of activity, we have to remember the human toll that this changing earth activity takes on people. We are looking at possibly a new volcanic eruption happening imminently in the area. So, in addition to the damage from the earthquakes, we are possibly going to see even more damage coming in the next weeks and months. So everybody pray for that area. Help me pray for everybody there. Hello. Will we get any info on the killer fog, the toxic fog? LOL. I don't believe in the toxic fog. I think that it's just cold and flu season, and there's people who have been pipelined into believing that there's no such thing as certain illnesses, and they're just stuck with those illnesses and having to make something up. It is also a very wet and cold winter, and foggy, cold weather is bad for your immune system. You get less vitamin D. Everything is a little bit more moist, and that is transmits the phlegmatic viruses better. It's just it's that time of year. It's literally good weather for. So okay, maybe it is technically killer toxic fog because it is partially people going outside and getting wet and cold, bringing down their central body temperature, lowering their natural defenses to the germs that are already being exposed to them by daily contact with other people. I cannot stress to you enough that we are all just breathing each other's air. I don't know how to explain to people more. Um, I don't know how to explain to you that, like, you breathe in other people's farts. You are breathing in the air that somebody else breathed out. Like, everything, you think that air is nothing, but air is actually everything. And the way that fish swim around in water and may not even perceive it, that's what we're doing with air. And we're just like swimming around in each other's air filth, unless you're purifying your air and taking care of it with trees or air treatment systems. So, killer toxic fog, maybe fake news. I'm going to say possibly fake news, possibly a distraction story, probably trying to get people scared about nothing. Probably people trying to rationalize why they're getting sick when they have stopped believing in germ theory. Hello, Kaylee. I'm happy you're here. I will always be glad you're here. There's plenty of me to go around. I love you guys. There's only 6 people here, so it's not that bad. This sounds like a Pentecostal sermon just left out of hellfire and brimstone. Hey, I'm not trying to preach to y'all, but this is my spiritual belief that the weather is everything. Let's go now to earthquakes. It's my deeply held spiritual belief that volcanoes and earthquakes should be considered part of the weather system because of their ash content, their electromagnetic implications, the changing terrain. We should be considering this in our. This is my soapbox moment. All meteorologists should consider the water cycle that happens inside the earth and the carbon cycle that is happening constantly. Yeah, we should be considering volcanoes and earthquakes more seriously in our weather calculations. Okay, let's catch up on our earthquakes. We had a 1.9 up here in Maine. We had 2s over here in the New Madrid seismic zone area. We had a 4.4 off the coast of Nicaragua. Was that right? Did I make that up? Sometimes I lie. Oh, El Salvador. Sorry. It's right off the coast of El Salvador. We had a 4.4. That was at 60 kilometers depth. Over here in Puerto Rico, getting to the island of Hispaniola, we had a 3.5 and a stack of 2s. We've also seen some decent earthquakes in the mountain states with a 2.6, a 3.1 over here in Wyoming. Just a clusterfuck over here in the western states, of course. We've got a lot going on in Southern California, as well as that western Nevada area, as well as the areas that we've seen more quaking, like right off the coast of, let's turn on. Yeah, you can see the red lines here are the plate boundaries. So right in that Juan de Fuca fracture zone, we've had more 2s and 3s coming up. This stack right here is from the Geysers, California. So obviously it's a very active spot. We had big old cluster of 0s, 1s, and 2s over in Alaska. We had a couple here in Hawaii. No Hawaiian update over here on volcanoes today. Let's see. Yeah, didn't really get I'm not sure if Kilauea is still erupting right now because I didn't get an update from them on our volcanoes. Let's go back out. We've got nothing on the Aleutian Island chain right now. Interesting. 4.3 out here in the Pacific Plate, just off the coast of Japan and the beginning of the Mariana Trench. 4.6 here in the central Philippines at 126 kilometers depth. 4.2 here in Papua New Guinea at 95 kilometers depth. And a 4.5 here in Australia at 10 kilometers depth. A 4.7 out here in the, which island chain is this? The Comedic Islands, New Zealand. We had a 4.7 out there at 38 kilometers depth. The depth exaggeration was misleading on that. A 4.8 of Sumatra in Indonesia. 4.8 at 64 kilometers depth. We had a 5.0 here on the Antarctic plate boundary with the African plate, which makes sense. If there's some activity waking up here, you'd expect to see it transmitted from somewhere. We've seen several large quakes continuing in the Afar region. We've got 4.5 here in Turkey at 31 kilometers depth. That's a little bit not exactly where we see the Mediterranean quakes always dropping off. And we see a 4.3 at 10 kilometers depth there. Where's the Chinese quake? I wanted to go back far enough. Okay, this is the 4.9. This is the one that we saw the video from. And so if we go back a few days to where I've talked about, like, we also see many other 4s popping up. Some surface 5s also show up if I go back that far. Surface 5s, 5.0, 5.3, 4.7, and a smattering of 2s and 3s throughout Australia. We also saw some Mount Erebus region earthquakes here. This is on the border of the Indo-Australian plate, the Balleny Islands region, between Antarctica and Australia. Said internet connection weird. Oh, I'm still here. I am a meteorologist. Yes. That's my whole deal. I like meteorology. I like clouds. I named myself after clouds because I like them so much. I wanted to like myself as much as I like clouds. Why can't I? Why is this weird? Oh God. Is this okay? There we go. 5.0 out here. Let's see. We had 4.1 up here in Afghanistan and 4.5 in far western China. 4.9 at 10 kilometers depth. So that's probably a triangulated one out here on the mid-Atlantic ridge in the northern Atlantic. Scary area. I don't know why it scares me so much. It's just like gross and terrifying. We had a 6.0 over here on the South Sandwich Islands. That was a surface 6.0 on New Year's Day, followed by a 5.5, a surface 5.5 today. And a 5.0 also occurred on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge on New Year's Day. 5.3 happened on New Year's Day over here on the East Pacific Rise. And there was also a 6.1 centered. Oh, there were a couple 6s here. where we go. Let's zoom in here. There was a 6.1 at 99 kilometers depth and a 6.0 at the surface. They were just barely offset their locations. The 6.0 happened on the 2nd at 3:43 p.m. And they happened at the same exact time, simultaneous 6.0s here in northern Chile. That was also pretty close to the time when this 5.2 happened. That 5.2 was a little bit before it. Yeah, so those were the past few days. Some decent earthquakes spreading around the world. Let's go now to our atmosphere. Turn on my atmosphere. Okay, let's look at, I don't want this, go away. Okay, looking at radar Omega, we can see it just looks cold looking at these clouds. If you know what you're looking at, then you know that this looks cold. This looks like fast moving wind from the north. This looks very wintry. Sometimes you can kind of see the pattern the clouds would make that you would see in the sky from what they look like on the map. And this is that sheep in the pasture cloud that you'll see associated in folklore with snow. And it's for a good reason. It's because that's the kind of cumulus clouds that can form decent snow tracks. That those kinds of clouds, those long chains of little bursts of cumulus clouds, are what happens in the atmosphere that also makes snow. So these are snow clouds. You can see it really beautifully on the radar. This is just reflectivity. If we look at winter weather, we'll be able to see all blue everywhere, which is why we're seeing like all these headlines about a big deep freeze, big winter storm. And that's not even counting this sucker over here in the Pacific Northwest. That is going to be a nasty one. This stationary front is sweeping winds along the Canadian coast from the armpit of Alaska and Canada here. I always think of this as like this part of the body. I always think this is the armpit of Alaska and Canada. Swoops down here. We've got a stationary front just along that entire Pacific coastline so perfectly that the trough is scooping down well into the upper plains. They've got some nasty cold temperatures up there, and wind chills are sure to be killer, and I mean literally possibly killer wind chills, because that is some fast moving wind. The shape of those clouds tell me that is fast moving wind. It's getting a lot of long linear tracks, which indicates that's kind of the shape they make when they're moving fast in one direction. They're moving fast in this direction. So that is sweeping down a lot of cold air into this area that previously had a lot of moisture dumped. We had a pretty wet winter so far, and this is pretty fertile ground for, that fog that people were talking about, that is what's feeding the snow here. All that extra moisture that we had, where people were like, I haven't seen fog in this town in 20 years. I'm like, really? You haven't seen fog in 20 years? All of that is contributing to the snow factor here. So if we put this in motion, you can see the cold front here too, like just huge, ginormous cold front, the big swath of the entire country, just chilly. Everybody's getting some big fat juicy flakes. I bet if we looked at a sounding or a model sounding, which is when you look at a air profile vertically up through the atmosphere, we would see a big chunk of the atmosphere where the clouds are forming being right around negative 12 degrees Celsius. That is the ideal temperature for perfect, big, fat, fluffy flakes forming. Any colder than that, and they just don't get as complex. They start accreting directly on in a different geometry. And any smaller than that, they'll want to make more dense forms like tubes of hexagons of ice and stuff. Snow physics is such an interesting area of meteorology that deserves more than just a couple days in your synoptic 4 class, but I digress. Actually, I think we talked about that in physical meteorology, not even synoptic. I wish we had gotten to take more time to talk about the aesthetics of weather in my schooling, because I think aesthetics are important qualitative information for data gathering in the science of meteorology. We need more people who look at pretty clouds for a long time, and not necessarily less nerds crunching numbers, but maybe the nerds crunching numbers could also go outside and touch grass and look at the clouds directly and ponder them deeply in their hearts. I think maybe that would be helpful for the whole world. Maybe if everybody went outside and pondered the clouds deep in their hearts, we would all find something to reflect on and grow around. Okay, I've digressed a whole lot. Let's talk about what's setting up this winter weather. So let's look at our observations, first of all. This is just observed precip in the past 6 hours, past 24 hours. We're looking at that. Now, that doesn't look like much until we look at observed snowfall. Why can't I see observed snowfall? 48-hour observed snowfall. Where's 24? That's weird. It actually is some decent snowfall. Let's look at our analysis of, this is our analysis of temperature. That is pretty nasty. You can see the negatively tilted trough right here that's bringing in a lot of vorticity that feeds the convection to make these puffy little clouds, the snow. That's a wicked outburst of the polar vortex. Let's see. I don't like this website for looking at models as much. This is the entire area where we've got winter storm warnings, or winter storm watch, winter storm warning, and winter weather advisories. We also have ice storm warnings in effect in parts of Missouri. We've got flood warnings continuing in Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. Got red flag warnings out in New Mexico. Don't take those lightly. That means that there is a lot of fast, dry wind coming for your area. Just because it's winter doesn't mean you don't have to worry about fires. Lots of parts of the country are looking at winter weather advisories or a freeze watch in southern Georgia, northern Florida. High wind advisories are in effect in many of the mountain counties in western North Carolina and southern Virginia. Let's see. Yep, that's what's going on. Looking at the higher elevations getting those winter weather advisories. Let's go to Tropical Tidbits to look at some models, because that is my favorite website for looking at models. I just like their interface better. The model is the same. I just like the interface here better. This is what we're experiencing, that strong negatively tilted trough. Big old storm. That big old storm that's coming through, that's not even going to get here till Monday. So everywhere from Missouri, Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Pennsylvania, the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia area, all of this getting some nasty snow in the models and lots of wintry mix as well. That's going to settle out, probably causing continued snowfall in the upper elevations of the southern Appalachians well into Tuesday. So not out of the woods anytime soon with that. I like to look at the upper dynamics. This one, the 2 PVU pressure. This is the pressure level where we reach 2 potential vorticity units, which is an indication of how much like way up in the stratosphere air is mixing down with things. The level at which we get to PVU is higher when 2 PVU comes lower to the ground. So when you see these high values, these colder colors, that means that stratospheric mixing is more efficient closer down to the surface of the Earth. And that means that there's a lot more, cold air for one, but also volatility and probable storm development. So let's go back to analysis. I like to look at analysis more than forecasting because I like to report the real weather, the ones that already happened. Analysis. So you see this cold injection just really creating a nice little pocket of cold temperatures here near the lakes area. But then the activity over here in the Pacific Northwest is going to propel this down further into much of the East Coast. So you see how far this is reaching down into the mountain states. As we move forward, this bowling ball cutoff low almost that wants to form is trying to sweep through and knock down our pins. This is a more powerful map when you look at a different region, when you look at the entire Northern Hemisphere. I love looking at this map on the Northern Hemisphere because you can see this is where we should have a polar vortex. This is where there should be one big loop of continuous values. And this is what our polar vortex looks like now. It is an assemblage of many different spinning things. This is the breakdown, the death cycle of the polar vortex. And you can see how all of this air, this should be locked up at the North Pole. We should be getting like troughs down, but we're experiencing all these cold outbursts because the temperature gradient, all of the things keeping the air locked into the poles is not as strong as it once was. With a higher overall temperature of the planet, the cold and warm differences aren't keeping things as stable as they should be. You want a really big difference in temperature in places on the planet to keep things nice and stable. When more places lie within a smaller range of temperatures, things can be very volatile because this temperature can move to this temperature very easily. But a cold and a hot don't want to become each other very easily. If you have good charge separation, if you have good cold and hot separation, things stay in more balance. But the closer you get to a really small gradient between what it's like at the North Pole and what it's like at the equator, the more volatile things get, the more this type of stuff spills down into the United States and like the lower mid latitudes. So yeah, that's how we're experiencing a snowstorm while the climate is warming, because this is the little death throes of these last bits of cold air. Should be just kind of chilling up here. But it's not. I like to look at one that I haven't looked at in a while, derived motion winds. This shows a good feeder of moisture coming from the Gulf of Mexico down here, kind of meeting up with this big cold plunge. That is setting up the Monday, Tuesday storm. So the storm that's already happening here going to get replaced with this baby that's brewing back here. You can see the rotation getting gnarly over on the West Coast. They get real gnarly over there. Rotation's getting gnarly, and the Gulf of Mexico, or as I Freudian slip and call it, the Gulf of Moisture all the time. Those are going to combine and create a great bad winter storm. Really cool leeward waves in the mountains here. I talked about this the other day. It showed up on a water vapor imagery. When winds are like really straight line across the mountains, you get to see these little ripple patterns that are kind of a result of elevation, but also a result of like an up and down oscillation of the air mass. So like it's like a bouncy ball. It go boom, 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 and that creates the ripples. This air mass will bounce in and out vertically of places in the atmosphere where it can be a condensed cloud. When it sinks lower, it's like, oh, there's like everybody's, warm and there's high pressure down here. I don't have to be a cloud right now. But when it gets up, lifted up by either its buoyant motion up or orographic lift going up the mountain, it is like, oh man, it's cold. There's a lot less pressure up here. I can just be a cloud. That's fine. When it gets down in the high pressure, it's like, well, there's too much pressure here. I can't be a cloud here. It's really about temperature more than pressure, but when it comes to whether it's a cloud or not, but I digress. Interesting setup. Really cool. Really cool to watch this winter storm unfold. Let's go now to, let me check my chat. She said analysis. Can we see some lines, longitude and latitude? I don't know what that was about. Where are you now? High or low? I am not high anymore. I don't get high anymore. I used to be. I am a meteorologist. Look up these coordinates. Okay. I'll search the web for these coordinates. GPS Latin Lawn Finder. If this is your location, don't tell me to go there. I'm gonna open this in a tab that you can't see first. Oh. Copy. That's giving me the middle of the ocean or something. I feel like that might not be right. Oh, no, because it's supposed to be west. There we go. Barents Sea. 42 north and 73 west. I'm not going to do the degrees, minutes, seconds calculations on that. Doesn't want to show me. Yeah, it says the middle of the fucking ocean. I don't know. Oh, is that in the middle of... Is this in the middle of that anomaly in the Atlantic? North Atlantic Ocean. Yes. Oh, that's right off the coast of Sierra Leone and Papua New Guinea. Interesting. Okay, I looked up the coordinates. I don't know what you want me to do with that information. Yeah, okay. Let's move on. Next, we go up in the sky from the atmosphere to the ionosphere, and the communication vertically between the ionosphere and the lower atmosphere, which takes place through the Schumann resonances. That is the daily chatter of, whoo, look at that. That is a big old honking signature. Oh my gosh. There's some really high frequencies that are getting translated here. Look at this, like well above mode 4. Like I'd say like a mode 5 power burst coming in there from like the second to the third. That's crazy. What were y'all doing last night? What would have driven that? We had a huge power increase in our upper frequencies. So this is like the voice of the atmosphere. This is what I mean, it's like it's literally what the atmosphere would sound like if you could hear it talking. And it's saying a lot right now. It's using higher pitch and tone, and it's also the amplitudes are increased, so it's a higher volume. The 4 modes of frequencies are these like places where the frequencies tend to gather. They tend to clump up like in a normal curve distribution. And this is the average frequency. Like the frequency went way up in mode 3. You can see back here on the sonogram. You can't even see it on this sonogram very well, but there's usually 4 horizontal bands of where frequencies tend to pop out, where we usually get more frequencies there than others. But with such loud activity everywhere, it's hard to even see the frequency bands. So we've had a lot of communication between the ionosphere and the surface of the Earth. That is, of course, through the mechanism of lightning, which is a very fun... Oh, I haven't talked about this. I guess I clicked on this random thing. The 4 modes tend to fall around the same frequencies, which is hertz is a per second unit. They tend to fall around the same brainwave frequencies that are, or same wave frequencies that our brain waves fall around. So the frequency of lightning strikes globally, like the amount of power being translated in the lightning strikes that are happening at that frequency is the amplitude of that frequency. They tend to gather around the bands that our brain waves tend to gather around. We weren't made by mistake. Our brains like to be in tune with the earth, I think. And you know, this just goes to show you stuff. I think my personal theory is that the atmosphere is our collective brain, our collective soul, consciousness, brain, and operates as if it has brain waves, and the Schumann resonances are those brain waves. That is a very elaborate and far-fetched idea that scientists might scoff at, but I think it is essentially a good metaphor for understanding the role of the Schumann resonances in the Earth system. But brainwaves, they tend to gather around the same frequencies that the 4 modes of the Schumann resonances do. And they all mean different things. The higher the frequency, the more like conscious and alert and stimulated it is. So when we get those higher frequency power bursts, that means, you know, analogously, maybe if you took my metaphor to its logical conclusion, increases in mode 3 and mode 4 would mean collectively we're on more of an alpha and beta wavelength. And the lower frequencies are always pretty pretty prevalent, the delta and theta. Delta is your sleeping frequency, and theta is like even lower. Like between alpha and delta is theta. Gamma is huge. It's like beta's overtone, high beta, gamma frequencies. Anyway, that's where we had a little bit of a burst yesterday, which is heightened perception. Maybe we are awakening. Maybe we are learning new things collectively. Exciting year. We're all waking up. Okay. Now there is a connection between, in my opinion, the Schumann resonances and the solar weather. I feel like solar weather can affect the precipitation of ions from the upper ionosphere to the lower levels of the atmosphere by mechanism of like charge separation, discharging, and also pressure. See, we didn't have too many coronal mass ejections on the 3rd, but on the 2nd, which I didn't broadcast on, we had 7, 8 CMEs. We had one potential CME launched on New Year's Day that might be getting to us now. So we are currently undergoing a G1 minor geomagnetic storm. We're at an observed KP index of 5. We've got moderately high solar wind speed at 501 kilometers per second. We have a moderately strong interplanetary magnetic field at 12.68 nanotesla. The direction is slightly south, which means it is coupling well with the Earth's magnetic field. So anything coming in might want to stick rather than deflect around the Earth. Disturbance storm time index predicts moderate storm conditions right now. We are still at moderate storm conditions. We were at extreme storm condition or high storm conditions 2 days ago. And the X-ray flux, maximum X-ray flux, we had a M7.64 just now. Oh, and today we had another X-class flare. I just knew it. Two flares that peaked into the X-class range today. God, that is so cool. I feel like every time we get an oncoming solar storm, there's also pairing with the X-class flares, but it does. The solar storm we're experiencing now on Earth is not from these X flares. It's from previous coronal mass ejections that were like a few days ago that are arriving now. It just happens to be coincident. And that's what a coincidence is a co-occurring incident in time, a coincidence. It's just a coincidence that there is an X-class flare happening at the same time that we're getting these geomagnetic storms. Some elements of solar activity can get here in as little as like an hour. Some of it takes like 2 days to get here because some of it has more mass than others. So the things that have less mass, like stuff that is more like radiation, that gets here faster. And the mass stuff gets here slower. That's like coronal mass ejections. So we had 1, 2, 3 decent peaks in X-ray flux today, 2 of which were X-class flares. One of those was an X1.21. Let's see. Those were from region 3947. Let's take a look at it. Oh, it doesn't want to give me a picture of region 3947. Why is that? Let's see. 3947, who are you? Who is this new mystery girl? Hello, who is she? She's a new active sunspot group on the Earth-facing disk of the sun. Very exciting. I think 3945 and 3943 look like decent players as well, but they are not. I mean, it's considered just an alpha type sunspot group right now, which shocking to me to see X-class flares come from that, but I guess it's just a really healthy alpha. This is the current layout of coronal holes. I can't click on it because SDO is down and this website's not displaying directly from SUVI imagery. Let's look at our SOHO data and we can take a look at all this stuff coming at you. Man, I knew there was going to be some, I swear, every time there is some sort of geomagnetic storm, the key fob for my car doesn't work. Like, it's a little radio button, a radio powered button. I swear that this thing is just dialed in, sensitive enough, tuned in enough to feel little teeny tiny solar decibel decrease effects. And it just doesn't unlock the car while there's a big storm. There was a decent, look at this little proton wave burst. Oh, wait, I didn't go back far enough. That little burst of snow, that salt and pepper, that was a piece of solar wind coming through that had a lot of protons in it. That's what the random little darts, little sparkles going around are. And you can see this continuous jetting out of solar wind from the corona. Looking at auroral activity, we've seen a lot of it already this year. Like every day we've had decent coronal activity. Our hemispheric power is way up at 102 gigawatts in the north and south. So hemispheric power, way up. We're looking at decent auroral or ovals for many places. I bet there would be am I broadcasting let me go back to this. Yes, I am broadcasting. This is a live stream from an airport in Greenland. It's one of my favorite views. I'm glad I have this on stream still because yeah, there's literally aurora happening in Greenland right now. And that's what this indicates we would see. So looking like Nunavut and Manitoba would have great aurora views. Nuuk, Greenland would have great aurora views. Let's check out some other webcams. See if I've got, Greenland usually is the best. Greenland is the new Iceland, in my opinion. What do I mean by that? I don't know. I don't care, honestly. I just feel like it's right. Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. I actually might replace the one I've got on here with this cam. I'm going to replace this cam with this one. I could do both, but I don't want to take up that much room on the screen. How do properties. I clicked on the wrong thing. This is a rinky-dink operation. It's just me here by myself operating my broadcasting software and casting live. So you're going to see my real YouTube page. You're going to see my real suggested videos. You're going to see my live editing, my OBS, because this is raw. This is real streaming. Batteries get weak in the cold. That is also a good point. Northern Lights are beautiful. I love them. What's the frequency? Kenneth by REM. I'll have to play that. Could the higher frequency make your ears ring? I have heard that. I have heard that reported from some people. I've experienced ears ringing more recently, but I have a feeling my personal theory is that has to do with your personal awareness of spiritual things. It's like an energetic thing more related to your personal field. I love this part, visual. Okay. Yeah, I think there are people keeping track of whether it makes your ears ring or not, but I don't know the answer to that like right offhand. Cool. So that's a great webcam, getting some great northern lights live right now. Back to the auroral dashboard. Let's look at our KP index. More data. Woo! Okay, so our observed KP index on the 1st got all the way up to KP index of 8. And we are now increasing once again. We're at a KP minus 5. We've got, I want to look at our WSA and Enlil models, because that was where we first saw that on the 3rd we were going to have an onslaught of solar energy, possible little geomagnetic storm happening right now. So this is probably just the beginning, because, or at least according to this model, the beginning parts of this solar storm, it wasn't supposed to arrive till like the 4th. So we might just be digging into it. Maybe this will extend the entire snowstorm. So we're going to be experiencing the snowstorm concurrent with the sunstorm. That's pretty cool. When's the next full moon? I will get to the full moons in just a second. Disturbance storm time index. Let's see. Have we been in a storm? 24 hours. We just got into storm territory again. We were in storm territory like 3 days ago, and we are now back in it officially. So we have a lot of solar weather going on. Very exciting. So take care of your throats, people. It's a very susceptible to a vulnerable area. Waxing crescent is our moon phase. Let's go ahead and with that talk about our planetary weather. Again, my personal belief that the location and relationships, geometric relationships of the planets and their orbits to each other have a non-zero influence on terrestrial weather. My personal belief, my hypothesis of my entire life is I do believe that the planets are just a little teensy tiny bit related to the weather. Now, whether we have instruments that can sense that influence, that I don't think we have the current technology to sense their influence, but I do think that there is an influence. So I'm going to always observe where the planets are while I'm observing the weather. We have just gotten Pisces, we've just gotten Venus moved into Pisces. Venus is now at 1 degree of Pisces. Venus is very happy in Pisces. I don't think she's exalted, but she has some sort of dignity. The moon is in Pisces at 9 degrees. We've also got, actually, we have a Pisces stellium right now. So this is like the most watery we've been in a while. We've got Saturn in Pisces, of course, direct at 14 degrees, and Neptune in Pisces at 27 degrees. This is like the wateriest day we're going to get for a while. We're going to move into increasingly fiery and air-y times. We've also got the sun in a feminine sign, an earth sign. Feminine signs are water and earth. Masculine signs are air and fire. at 14 degrees. The sun is at 14 degrees of Capricorn. That means that it is making an exact sextile to Saturn in Pisces. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So I think that is lending a little bit of strength and rigid, disciplined support to Capricorn. Maybe Capricorn is trying to build a network or reach the highest mountains, maybe summiting. Sometimes the communication between Capricorn and Pisces can get a little confused, but I think the common theme there is ambition and the ability to dream and manifest new things into the world. There's a holding of space in the feminine energy, and the Pisces stellium we've got with Venus, Moon, Neptune, and Saturn. I think this is the vision, the dream, the like what Capricorn works for, what Capricorn does all the cardinal earth things for, is this beautiful vision of the future, of community, of interrelated, like psychic alignment, spiritual alignment, oneness. Like this is the pipe dream kind of that we're striving for. This is the mountaintop experience that the sea goat, mountain goat is climbing towards in Capricorn. And Capricorn too is all about building foundations. So this is the most idealistic way to experience the middle decan of Capricorn, I think. We've also got Mercury still in Sagittarius, finally out of its shadow of retrograde. It's now in degrees where it was not even thinking about its retrogradation. It's moving solidly direct. We do still have Jupiter in retrograde in Gemini, while those two planets are in mutual reception. And they're in their fall in like opposite sign of its rulership, but they're in mutual reception. So it's like a bit of an oxymoron type of fall here. They're no longer in direct aspect to each other, though. We've got Mars at its last, making its last little transit through Leo before it retrogrades into Cancer again. Mars in Cancer is going to be our only thing in Cancer for a while until Jupiter gets there. Mars will retrograde in Cancer and then eventually station direct, go back into Leo. So this is our last little Leo Mars vibe for a second. So if you have a Leo Mars, I have a Leo Mars. This might be a nice time to get some of that Leo Mars stuff done, which is probably why I'm going to upload a video of my stand-up set tonight, because that's a Leo Mars type of thing to do. It's also in opposition to Pluto and Aquarius. So Pluto and Mars have been duking it out for who's the biggest asshole for millennia. But I think these two like to fight. I'd like to see them fighting each other rather than fighting the other planets, in my opinion. That's just my humble opinion. What's Cancer? Cancer is a sign in the sky. It's cardinal water. Yeah, I think we're having nice dreams. The weather works with me. I'm related to the weather. Mine just recently started. Must be the fog. Thanks, Cloud. I don't listen to the propaganda about the fog, guys. It's all bullshit to scare you. Okay, let's go to do a little vibe reading on the moon was close to Jupiter this evening. The moon was actually close to Venus tonight. Venus, Saturn, and Neptune are all right around where the moon is tonight. I saw that too. It was really pretty. Let's do a little vibe check reading. Because beyond the planets, if you can stay with me for thinking that the planets are related to the weather, you're maybe going to follow me here too. I like to get a little reading on the energies that aren't even taking physical form right now. There are waveforms in octaves higher than the physical. And I believe that chaos is the mechanism that precipitates the influence of those realms down to the physical realm. And cartomancy, or divination through intentional chaos introduced through the shuffling mechanism, is how you can get a little bit of a read on what's happening out there in the, I hesitate to say ether, but because I think ether is another thing. But what's happening out there in the vibe world? What's the vibe weather? Even beyond the archetypal planetary influences. What's out there beyond the planets? What's happening beyond our solar system? It's maybe like our higher selves or future timelines or whatever you want to believe is an explanation of the influences that are non-physical in this universe. God, maybe I'm just asking God questions through the cards, you know? Maybe, but you know, I don't want to offend anybody by saying that kind of stuff. It's my opinion. Okay. Liminal space deck. The liminal space. What's the vibe? What's the vibe? Vibe check. I always keep this one with the ocean jasper. Memory lane. This one's got a nice, it's very hard to do the white balance on this camera now. Can it? Okay. You can kind of see the artwork for that. Memory lane. It's got a little alley. I have many memories of alleys. Oh, don't forget the chime. Too late, I guess. I'll do that at the end. I'll do put this out here so I don't forget. Memory lane. Familiar, isn't it? It's important to remember here that this is only a set of and a cast of actors. It isn't actually happening, even though it has happened. If watched objectively, this could be an incredible and insightful experience and available tool. If tampered with, memory loss or an inability to access this realm at all may occur. That means death. The mind will circle places that require reconciliation, much like water will swirl a drain. Trust where your thoughts take you and the medicine of remembering, but it is a fruitless and disheartening endeavor to continue fighting finished battles. Try for acceptance. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Great prayer. Great prayer. You know, maybe it's a cliche, but I like it. Let's go now for our tarot deck. This one comes with labradorite. Where's the flash? There. Almost see the flash. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. Okay. Oh, tarot. Hello, tarot. What goes with memory lane here? Are we possibly thinking of trauma? And this popped out right away. The Four of Pentacles reversed. So this guy is a hoarder. I have gotten him many times. There are some cards that you draw a lot because it's just a theme in your life. There's probably some baggage you're holding on to that I'm holding on to. I'm going to speak for me on this one. There's baggage I'm holding on to that I am not ready to let go of, that I am trying to be in the process of letting go of. Just like Memory Lane was talking about with water swirling around the drain. There are parts of your memory that you would like to forget, but you cannot forget until you remember it and process it. I think of that with this card in reverse, especially. This is like holding on internally. This is an internal metaphorical or non-physical type of hoarding, where we're hoarding our trauma, our attachments to our narratives about ourselves. I think the coins here represent like literally probably attachments to the way things work, the way things are, like your narratives about how the world works and your oppression or your role in it. Like, oh, it's always going to be like this. I have to just like hold on to what I can because things can't possibly get good. We have to let go of the narrative that things can't possibly get good in order to let them get better. And the last one we're going to draw is always with selenite. I don't have nails I like did my nails short and I can't tap the crystals very well. That's what it sounds like being dragged around my mic. I used to play this bowl with selenite. Maybe I can bring that back for a second. I like the sound of that. It's really fun with the little magic wand. But it does kind of chip the selenite. So I have been playing it with this piece of wood that looks like bone, but that's a good ASMR sound. ASMR. This is something that was left for me by whatever little creature of the woods stole my original bowl bell ringer. I let that go, and eventually something cooler came in its place. So anyway, let's go to the affirmation deck. That's what I call this one. It's like an oracle deck my friend gave me last year as a gift, and it's got beautiful paintings on each card and a little word of encouragement from a worldview that is very optimistic about our agency in this lifetime and what we can do and what our manifesting abilities are and the nature of our souls and our experience here. It's a very cool deck. Memory Lane and Four of Pentacles reversed. What are we doing here? Is that possibly part of our stellium in Pisces, that we are swimming in the illusion of the past and latching onto old narratives about it? What's this mean for this manifestation deck? I envision more and act less. I envision more and act less. And it's got I think it's a little lady floating in an ocean with flowers. And it says, as you take the time to find images in your mind that are pleasing, you will more often achieve vibrational alignment with all things that you desire. From that alignment, you will experience more inspired ideas and assistance from others. Inspired action is very satisfying and extremely productive. So, I think when we let go of our coins here, when we let go of our old narratives, we have more room to envision and act less. All right, I'm going to play this bowl one more time. All right. I love you. I wish compassion for you. That's the blessing that was made into this bowl. It's a heart-centered compassion bowl. I hope I do it justice. A leprechaun took your thingy and left that magic stick. Is that type of wood native there, I wonder? I don't know what type of native wood it is, but it's very interesting that it's shaped like a bone. Hypnotize now. I'm not trying to hypnotize you. I'm trying to get us all. Well, maybe I am. I'm not trying to get you to do something. I would like us to align vibrationally with each other and with the energy of holding space for love. I'm a hippie. Sue me. I want people to hold space for love and compassion and beautiful ideas about a better world. Perhaps we can build it if we understand the mechanisms of the physical reality we are immersed in currently. Spiritual beings having a physical experience is what we are, in my opinion. It sounded cool with headphones. I'm wearing headphones. I look young. Thank you. I look younger now than I did like 10 years ago. I looked rough in 2014. I'm 31. I have been through 31 years, almost 32 years of life. Pretty young in some aspects, pretty old in other aspects. So I feel like I'm right where I should be for 31. In a sober living house, no credit, barely have a car. But I know what I like to do with my time. I know I'm finding out who I am and what I want to be and what I want to say. So I think that's about what 30s are supposed to be. I think I'll figure out all those other material things if I need to figure them out. They'll sort themselves out. You're 67. Welcome to the club of fun little souls who gather here. I love us. I love you all. I'm going to go now because I need rest. It's cold in the garage. So I love you all. I'll see you tomorrow night. I believe. I hope. I'm pretty sure. Tomorrow night. All right. Love you all. Stay warm. Stay safe. Love yourselves. Have a good evening.